You're all welcome to today's news analysis. This is not noise. This is not gossip. This is one of the most sensitive political moments in Nigeria right now. If you care about justice, power, and the future of the Southeast, stay with me till the end. Before we go deep, support this channel. Subscribe. Turn on your notifications, so you don't miss clear, calm, and honest analysis like this. Now let's begin. Orji Uzor Kalu, a serving APC senator from Abia State, sits down with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Not for party jokes. Not for politics as usual. The issue on the table is heavy. Nnamdi Kanu. A man from the same state. A man from the same region. A man now serving life imprisonment. On the 20th of November, Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to life in prison. That date matters. It marked a turning point, not just for him, but for the entire Southeast. From that moment, emotions changed. Trust weakened. Anger deepened. After the judgment, he was moved to Sokoto prison. Far from his home. Far from his family. Far from the region where the issue began. That move was not random. It was deliberate. It was power sending a message. In Nigeria, actions speak louder than speeches. And this action spoke clearly. Now pause here. Orji Uzor Kalu is not just any politician. He is not a fringe voice. He is not an outsider shouting from the gate. He is a sitting senator. He is a senior figure in the APC. He supports the current government. So when a man like that decides to raise the issue of Nnamdi Kanu directly with the president, it changes everything. This is no longer about protests. This is no longer about social media noise. This is no longer about press statements. This is power speaking to power. And that is why this meeting matters. Orji Uzor Kalu understands the weight of silence. He understands the cost of delay. He understands what this sentence means to the people he represents. Abia State is watching him. The Southeast is watching him. As a senator from the same state as Nnamdi Kanu, his position is delicate. If he stays quiet, people will say he has abandoned his own. If he speaks too loud, he risks losing influence inside government. So the choice to meet Tinubu quietly is not weakness. It is strategy. This is how serious political work is done in Nigeria. Not with cameras. Not with shouting. Behind closed doors. The life sentence shocked many Nigerians, even those who do not support Nnamdi Kanu. Not because the case exists, but because of how final it felt. Life imprisonment closes doors. It ends conversations. It sends a signal that there is no room for mercy. And in a country already struggling with division, that signal is dangerous. Tinubu knows this. Orji Uzor Kalu knows this. That is why this meeting carries weight beyond one man. This is about the Southeast's place in today's Nigeria. This is about whether dialogue still matters. This is about whether the government prefers calm or confrontation. Orji Uzor Kalu did not walk into that meeting as a rebel. He walked in as a loyal party man raising a hard truth. A truth that cannot be ignored forever. The truth is simple. You cannot jail an idea and expect peace. You cannot move a problem far away and think it disappears. You cannot punish without also preparing for the reaction. The sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu did not end the issue. It only changed its shape. And leaders who understand Nigeria know this very well. This is why this meeting was necessary. Not optional. Necessary. For Orji Uzor Kalu, it was about responsibility. For Tinubu, it was about legacy. Every president faces moments that define them. Moments where they must choose between force and wisdom. This is one of those moments. No promises were announced. No statements were released. But the fact that the meeting happened tells us something important. It tells us the conversation is not over. It tells us the door is not fully closed. It tells us that even inside power, there are concerns. And when concerns reach the highest office, they do not go unnoticed. Let us slow down and face the truth behind this situation. Politics is not driven by emotion. It is driven by timing, pressure, and interest. Orji Uzor Kalu understands this better than most people. He has been in power. He has lost power. He has returned to power. That experience shapes how he moves. The life sentence given to Nnamdi Kanu created a new reality. Before that judgment, there was still room for argument. There was still space for legal back and forth. There was still hope that something could change. But a life sentence hardens positions. It draws a line in the sand. For the Southeast, that line felt like exclusion. Many people did not see it as justice. They saw it as final punishment. And when people feel shut out, they stop listening. That is the danger every government fears. Orji Uzor Kalu knows the mood of his people. He hears the anger in private conversations. He feels the disappointment in quiet meetings. Not everyone is shouting online, but many are hurting inside. As a serving APC senator, he stands in a difficult space. He must defend his party. He must respect the president. But he cannot ignore his roots. That balance is not easy. The Southeast has complained for years about being treated as an afterthought. Every major decision feels distant. Every punishment feels heavier. Every promise feels delayed. The Nnamdi Kanu case sits at the center of this feeling. Even people who disagree with his methods still believe the matter needs wisdom, not just force. They believe the government should find a political solution, not only a legal one. This is not unusual in Nigeria. Many past conflicts ended through dialogue. Many tense moments were calmed through behind-the-scenes talks. That history is not lost on Tinubu. Tinubu is not new to political fires. He has survived storms before. He knows when to stand firm and when to bend. The meeting with Orji Uzor Kalu was not about weakness. It was about calculation. Every government measures cost. Cost of action. Cost of inaction. Keeping Nnamdi Kanu in prison under a life sentence has a cost. Releasing him also has a cost. The real question is which cost is higher. That is the conversation that matters. For Orji Uzor Kalu, the cost is personal and political. If the tension in the Southeast grows, leaders like him will be blamed. If nothing changes, trust will continue to fall. And when trust is gone, elections become harder. Governance becomes harder. Peace becomes fragile. This is not theory. This is Nigerian reality. The movement of Nnamdi Kanu to Sokoto prison added another layer. It created emotional distance. It increased the feeling of isolation. People read meaning into such moves. Sometimes too much meaning. But perception is powerful. And politics is built on perception. The president understands this. He may not agree with all the emotions, but he understands their impact. That is why quiet talks matter.
No microphones.
No crowd. No pressure statements. Just facts, risks, and options laid on the table. Orji Uzor Kalu did not go there to demand. He went there to explain. To explain how the region feels. To explain why anger is not cooling down. To explain why time is not healing this wound. He went there as a bridge. Bridges are not loud. They are steady. And steady voices often achieve what shouting cannot. This does not mean a decision has been made. It does not mean release is certain. It does not mean the government will change course tomorrow. But it means the issue is now part of serious internal discussion. That alone is significant. Power does not reverse itself easily. But power sometimes adjusts when the ground begins to shake. The Southeast is not asking for chaos. It is asking to be heard. And when leaders choose to listen, even briefly, it can change the direction of a country. This moment is about more than one man. It is about whether Nigeria still believes in dialogue as a tool of strength, not weakness. That is what makes this phase so sensitive. Now everything comes down to choice. Not noise. Not pressure from the street. But decision at the top. Nigeria has reached this point many times before. Moments where the law stands firm, but the country feels fragile. Moments where leaders must ask one hard question. Will this calm the nation, or will it deepen the crack? Nnamdi Kanu's life sentence is legal reality for now. The move to Sokoto prison is also a reality. No court has reversed anything. No official statement has promised change. So nobody should pretend that freedom is close. That would be dishonest. But politics does not end at the courtroom door. In Nigeria, it never has. Every major national crisis that lasted too long eventually returned to the table of dialogue. Sometimes quietly, sometimes slowly, but always when pressure became expensive. Tinubu understands cost. He understands power. He understands history. A president does not only govern laws. He governs people. And people respond to signals. Right now, the signal from the life sentence feels hard. Cold. Final. That kind of signal can enforce order, but it rarely creates peace. Peace requires inclusion. Peace requires the feeling of fairness. This is why the Orji Uzor Kalu meeting matters beyond headlines. It brings the issue back into political thinking. Not as a protest demand. Not as a threat. But as a long-term risk. The southeast is not a small corner of Nigeria. It is loud in silence. It is patient, but not forgetful. If this case remains frozen, anger will not disappear. It will only change shape. Governments fear that kind of anger the most. For Tinubu, this is not about liking or disliking Nnamdi Kanu. It is about control, stability, and legacy. Every president wants to be remembered as the one who held Nigeria together. No one wants to be remembered as the one who allowed wounds to rot. That is the pressure behind closed doors. At the same time, the government must think about precedent. If one case changes, what follows? If one sentence is softened, what message does it send? These are not easy questions. They never are. But strong leadership is not about easy choices. It is about wise ones. For Orji Uzor Kalu, the work is not finished. One meeting does not solve a problem of years. But it opens a line. And lines, once opened, rarely close fully. This is where patience becomes power. Shouting now can break the process. Insults can harden positions. Fake victory claims can destroy trust. Real progress in Nigeria often moves quietly, painfully slow. But real. This is why Nigerians must watch carefully. Not emotionally. Not blindly. Watch actions. Watch tone. Watch future moves. If more voices inside government begin to speak calmly about this case, something is shifting. If silence returns and walls go up, then power has chosen another path. Both outcomes are possible. That is the truth. Nnamdi Kanu's case has gone beyond him as a person. It now represents a test. A test of whether Nigeria can still solve deep problems without tearing itself apart. A test of whether leadership can rise above anger. A test of whether unity is still a priority, not just a slogan. This is not about winning arguments online. It is about reducing pain on the ground. History will not remember who shouted the loudest. It will remember who chose wisdom when force was easier. The door is not wide open. But it is not locked shut either. And in Nigerian politics, that space matters. What happens next will not be announced with drama. It will come through small signs. Quiet moves. Subtle shifts. Those who understand power know this. So this moment should not be wasted. Because once a government hardens fully, reversing course becomes almost impossible. This is the crossroads. One path leads to deeper division. The other leads to managed peace. Nigeria has walked both paths before. The choice now will define not just this case, but how the country handles difference in the years ahead. This issue will not disappear by ignoring it. It will not fade with time alone. It will only change shape. The meeting between Orji Uzor Kalu and President Tinubu placed this matter where it truly belongs, at the highest level of responsibility. That alone shows that the situation is being taken seriously, even if nothing has changed on the surface. Nigeria is a country held together by balance. When one part feels unheard for too long, the whole structure feels the strain. The Nnamdi Kanu case has become one of those pressure points. Justice must be firm, but it must also be wise. Strength must be shown, but it must not become stubbornness. Every nation that survives long enough learns this lesson. For the Southeast, this is not just about one man behind bars. It is about dignity, inclusion, and trust in the future. For the federal government, it is about stability, authority, and legacy. These interests do not have to clash forever. They can meet, if handled carefully. No side gets everything it wants in moments like this. What matters is reducing harm and preventing deeper damage. The next steps will define the tone going forward. Whether through dialogue, legal review, or political adjustment, something must eventually give. History shows that unresolved tension always returns louder. It does not stay buried. This is why calm engagement matters more than anger. This is why leadership matters more than pride. Nigeria stands at a familiar point, where restraint can save the future, and impatience can damage it. How this moment is handled will echo far beyond one case.